everybody to the regular town board meeting for July 24th. I would ask that we start the public hearing, and I will ask Carol to read the public hearing announcement.
Whereas the town board of the town of Lewiston, herein called the town, in the county of Niagara, New York, has caused GHD, competent engineers duly licensed by the state of New York, the engineer, to prepare a map plan report dated May 22nd, 2017 for the proposed establishment of the town of Lewiston Water District, the district, in the town, and the construction of improvements therein consisting of the construction and installation of approximately 43,800 lineal feet of new water line to replace existing deteriorated piping that will be abandoned in place, including interconnections, hydrants, valves, water mains, boards, road crossings, steam crossings, a railroad crossing, and other ancillary or related work in connection therewith, as further described in said map plan and report, which map plan and report have been duly filed in the office of the town clerk for public inspection. And whereas the town board of the town is determined to proceed with proposed establishment of the district, and whereas the proposed district is bounded and described as follows. All that tract or parcel of land known as the town of Lewiston, county of Niagara, state of New York, being all of lots 10 through 29 of the New York State Reservation, plus lot 1, lots 4 through 8, lots 11 through 15, lots 18 through 45, plus part of lots 16 and 17 in Township 14, Range 9, plus lots 33 through 49, lots 53 through 57, lots 62 through 64 in Township 14, Range 8 of the Howland Lands Company survey, and more particularly described as follows. Beginning at the intersection of the northerly line of the town of Wheatfield with the westerly line of the town of Cambria, thence westerly along the northerly line of the town of Wheatfield and the town of Niagara and city of Niagara Falls to a point located at the easterly edge of the Niagara River, thence northerly along the easterly edge of the Niagara River as it winds and bends to a point located in the southerly line of the village of Lewiston, thence easterly, northerly, and westerly along the southerly, easterly, and northerly lines of the village of Lewiston to a point located on the easterly edge of the Niagara River. Thence northerly along the easterly edge of the Niagara River as it winds and bends to a point located the southerly line of the town of Porter. Thence easterly along the southerly lines of the town of Porter and the town of Wilson to a point located on the westerly line of the town of Cambria. Then southerly along the westerly line of the town of Cambria to a place or point of beginning, except in the area known as the Tuscarora Indian Reservation. And whereas the town as lead agent has complied in every respect with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations regarding environmental matters, including compliance with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, comprising Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And whereas the maximum amount proposed to be expended for the establishment of the district and construction of the water improvement is estimated to be $10,200,000, and the plan of financing includes the issuance of not to exceed $10,200,000 bonds of the town to finance said cost, and the assessment, levying, collection of assessments upon the several lots and parcels of land within the district in the same manner and at the same time as other town charges to pay the principal of and interest of said bonds at the same shall become due and payable. Now therefore be it determined and stated that the estimated cost of hookup fee is $0 and the estimated cost of the establishment of the district and the construction of the water improvement to the typical property is defined by the town law is $55. The total cost to a typical property owner, including water cost, existing debt service, and the cost of the construction of this water improvement is $285. And that the town board is heretofore caused to be prepared and filed for public inspection with the town clerk a detailed explanation of how such estimates were computed, and further that the cost of establishment of the district and construction of the water improvement to such typical property is not above the average estimated cost to the typical properties for the establishment of similar types of districts as computed by the state controller. and therefore approval of the state controller will not be required prior to establishment of the district. And be it ordered that the meeting of the town board of the town be held at the town hall, 1375 Ridge Road, Lewiston, New York, on the 24th day of July, 2017, at 6:00 p.m. To hear all persons interested in the subject thereof concerning the same and for such action on the part of the town board with the relation thereto as may be required by law. And be it further ordered that the town clerk publish at least once in the Niagara Gazette, thereby designated as the official newspaper of the town for such publication, and post on the signboard of the town meeting pursuant to subdivision 6 of section 30 of the town law, a copy of this order certified by said town clerk, the first publication thereof of such posting to be not less than 10, no more than 20 days before the date of such public hearing. And be it further ordered that the town clerk file a copy of this order with the state controller on or about the date of the publication of a copy of this order, dated July 10th, 2017.
Thank you, Carol. You always get the long ones. Okay, with that, I would like to open the public hearing. Paulette Glasgow.
We are about to enter into an area where you're going to probably approve tonight. $10 million water line project that's going to tax people and raise their water rates. And I'm wondering where the other two councilmen are. I think that they should be here to vote on this. And I'm wondering, they knew this meeting was going to occur, and for some reason they're not here. And I'm wondering why.
Thanks.
Hi, Les Myers from Village of Lewiston, also the chairman of the Town Bureau of Fire Prevention, chief of the Lewiston One Fire Company. I'm here to speak in favor of the Waterline Improvement Project. I want to go back and say it's not a new project that was started by Supervisor Broderick. It wasn't started by former Supervisor Brochet. The project was first discussed over 20 years ago. Back then, the town had a survey conducted of the whole town water infrastructure and identified many areas of the town that were insufficient for water flow. Over the years since the study, there have been letters written to the town asking to address some of the issues that were identified. Some improvements have been made over the years, not all of them. What the water improvement project is going to do is finalize all those problems identified over 20 years ago. We had a serious fire a few years back on Lower River Road. We had to do a long water relay called in a tanker for and I don't want to say a simple house fire, but a two-story house that normally the fire engines and the water supply out of hydrants should have been able to handle. It wasn't a large house, it wasn't a barn, just a two-story house. Again, the project will correct many deficiencies in the system. Old 6-inch water lines that are tuberculated, encrusted down to about 2 inches. Do we have that here?
That's a 4-inch line, right?
Okay. They can show you how these lines have been reduced in size so they're not giving the water flow that we need for the fire service. The new water lines will solve this problem and allow much additional flow of needed water. Some of the published reports regarding the financing of the project. Confident the town board will work for the taxpayers and residents of Lewiston to make sure the financing is best available. That's what we elected them to do. What I'm hopeful for is that the community supports the project, the town board secures the necessary financing, and moves forward on the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Les. Is there anybody else who would like to speak at the public hearing for the water project? Okay. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I was going to extend this opportunity for Bob Lannon, our engineer, if you wanted to do a presentation or talk about the water line project at all at this time.
I could briefly, if you like. I've handed out. Each of the board members has kind of a right-side version of this large drawing I have here. And what this depicts, and also depicts here on a larger drawing, is simply the 9 locations that Mike Townsend had brought before the board back in April of 2016 identifying these 9 areas as necessary for replacement and upgrade. And also on here, in the little yellow bubble outside there, it'll tell you what we're replacing it with. For example, Lower River Road up in the top left corner, which is Area 7. That's proposed to replace about 6,700 feet of what is now 12-inch cast iron pipeline with new 12-inch PVC and/or ductile iron pipeline. Okay? And the reason therefore is that the water main age, decreased conveyance capacity, and below ISO required flow rates. And I did that for each of the 9 separate areas. The reasons for the replacement are various combinations thereof. Okay? We have some old cast iron mains in the system. I'll just show by example here that this is an old 4-inch line. The rust inside of there, that's all what we call tuberculation, okay? And that chokes the flow. Not only is this 4-inch line substandard by today's standards, but it's also tuberculated. So they're not going to get a whole lot of fire flow through there. So that is one of the main reasons why we're going through and upgrading not only the size, but the material of the construction of the pipeline as well. So that's it. I know it's a large project, but the symptoms throughout these 9 areas are very common throughout the water users.
And we have Dan Zano from the water department. I think he can vouch that that's not even a bad pipe there.
There's worse.
Yeah, so, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Broderick and I came into the council almost 2 years ago. We found a letter indicating that the town had been put on notice by the Bureau of Fire Prevention, and we took that letter seriously, that the issue needed to be addressed. We looked at potential to borrow money, and we said this seemed to be the best time to borrow money. The rates were so low. We were able to take into consideration the Moody bond rate. We knew we had to make some adjustments in the town financing. We had a year to do that. We have hopefully stabilized the town financing, and when Moody comes out with a new rating, we'll be in better shape to even get a better rate to borrow the money. And it's our indication that this is something the town needs, and now is the time right to do it.
Thanks. I'd like to add to that one thing. I was actually, and Les can vouch for me, I was actually the first officer, first responder to respond to that fire on Lower River Road. We went into the house 3 times, and they couldn't get they couldn't get adequate firefighting equipment on that fire. So I saw the need right away. It was Mike Townsend that came to me, told me about the issue. I talked with Bill, and I believe this is what government's supposed to do. Government's supposed to take care of infrastructure, take care of problems. In 2017, we should be able to put water on the fire. So that's all I'd like to say to it.
Well, I agree with everything they've said, but I will agree with Mrs. Glasgow on a project this large, in a 30-year payout. I'd like to see a full board here for everybody's opinion and how we vote. So I would like to see it tabled.
Yeah, there'll be no action taken tonight because we have 2 board members that are not here. So we ended the public hearing, and there'll be no action taken tonight. So we'll move on to the regular town board meeting. And I know Councilman Bax, Councilman Serrata both are out of town and could not make tonight's meeting, and that's why we will take no action on it. So what I would ask for is we'll move on to the agenda approval for our regular town board meeting.
Any additions or corrections?
I don't believe I have either. Anything to add to the agenda?
No.
Ryan, anything to add to the agenda? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
Move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to resident statements for the regular meeting. We have Rosemary Warren.
I put in a freedom of information, and these are the questions I'd ask. How much did Key Bank charge? How much of the $1 million was spent? How many more years did the town get the money? I guess it's only this time. Is it the same amount every time? Just so. And what is it? Now, my answer was sort of interesting. No responsive records located as this request demands information as opposed to documents possessed by the town. However, the town finance person, who's a very nice person, is willing to discuss the matter with you and provide you with requested information. I want it in writing. I'm not going to sit around and talk to anybody over the phone or in a meeting. Now, I'll be sending this to the controller, because I still think that this is public information about the key bank. It was our money coming out of that fund, coming out of that. So whatever, I'll write to the controller, find out what he's saying. The highway guys did a very good job today. I'm sorry, Dave, I went out and talked to them. They wouldn't flirt with me or anything. I went out and said to them, "Where's Dave? I want to say good things about him tonight." And they said he's on vacation, and so I will wait about that. But they did, in one day, they laid down blacktop, beautiful. Did a very excellent job. So they were very professional, deserve a lot of credit. I'm happy. I think they're happy. Dave should be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. And that's all I have signed up for the regular meeting. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at the public the open forum for the regular meeting? Okay, thank you very much. Department head statements. We'll start with Chief Credit.
Just to inform the board, we did have one of our part-timers that has been offered a job with the New York State Police, so he'll be leaving. I'll have a vacancy, and I'll be doing some interviews probably mid-August, and I should have something for the board.
One of our full-time employees?
One of our part-time employees.
Part-time employees.
At a
Okay.
full-time position. Also, we'll be working, we have something scheduled. I have a meeting coming up this week with Lewiston Porter. So we have something in the works now. We'll be working together with some other agencies and doing an active shooter drill in the school probably sometime in November or December.
Thanks. Marty, you're on the agenda. Bill Conrad, Deputy Supervisor.
Just a little update. This came from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Exploitation. I think it was last month I received a letter saying that they were considering the Power Vista. It's recognized as a state historic. It's now going to be on the national list of historic preservation. So just wanted to kind of make that note.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Bill, I keep getting emails in regards to solar energy. How are we doing with moving along with that?
That's on me at this point. It's just things have been busy, so I'm putting together the final version of the law to distribute to everybody, and as soon as I get that done, you'll see it in your inboxes, and we can move forward from there.
I just don't want to get pressed too close to the end of the moratorium that we have to hustle or extend.
I agree, and it's my intention to get that to the board soon.
Approval of the meeting minutes from the town board work session on 7/10/2017.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Audit payment, Councilman Guyman.
I move for approval of the regular abstract of claims number 1950 to 2120 and recommend the payment amount of $216,194.20 plus a post audit of $6,293.13, and with accolades to the staff, it was perfect this time. And Barbara's out, so they've been working together to get it done.
Yeah. Can I get a
Need a
second?
second?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Under old business, the rezone application for Niagara University, I believe there's going to be no action on that, correct, Tim? Correct. No action on that?
But that is in the planning board, but moving forward.
Yeah. And then medical bill payment for Darlene Norwich, was there any?
I have no movement on that right now. What I'm trying to do at this point is get the union to sign off on it as not creating a practice that would therefore bind the town in these type of situations going forward. My inclination is to, under the circumstances of this situation, approve it, but I just want to get the union to sign off on it so that we're not creating some sort of right outside of that collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, clerk's correspondence? Okay. Under my Supervisor Broderick, we'll go to legal.
I guess I would just address Ms. Warren's comment earlier. The FOIL that the town received from her, it didn't seem to, what it was asking basically is, give me this information. And the town doesn't put the information, so to speak, the town doesn't create foilable material. So if she wants that information, what she needs to do is request the documents where that information would be contained in. But that information may be buried in a document too. So he might give it to her and she wouldn't necessarily understand or see where that payment, for example, from KeyBank, came from, or be able to decipher that particular document. I know she showed her documents that she's gotten in the past, unable to kind of decipher what's going on in those documents.
I can hear what you're saying.
That's why,
You're not talking to the microphone.
that's why we were, only person, I got that earlier today. I've never been told to speak louder. Usually my wife's telling me to quiet down or shut up entirely. So you're not sick of me yet. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there though. But what the intent of that FOIL was to let her call up Marty, who's willing to speak with her and give her that information so she has it, so she doesn't have to dig through like these documents that may contain other information, or it may not be clear exactly where the information she wants is. We want to provide her with this information. We want to give it to her in a way that is proper under the law and that she'll understand. If she wants, the documents that show that payment, I can't guarantee that
The
document.
problem is there's been no payment.
Okay,
So there's nothing to give to her.
So that's why there would be no responsive record with regard to a payment to KeyBank, because no payment has been made.
They are
And if-
still processing the list, coming up with it, the expectation is that it will be done prior to the disbursement, and we will transfer the money at the time that they have processed that. But as of this moment, there's been no disbursement of any funds to give to her.
And I'm sure if Ms. Warren had called you, like the
Absolutely.
letter, you would have relayed that information to her to explain why
Yes.
it says no responsive documents.
I didn't hear that in here.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else?
Nothing from me at this point.
Okay. Engineering.
A couple things. I put in front of you a packet with a little clip on it, highlighted at the top, says part 2 on it. In there is part 1, 2, and 3 of the environmental assessment form for seeker for the water line. Nothing for you to do now, other than let you know you have it, and if you're going to take action at the next meeting, this will be part of the discussion, I'm sure. So you have that for your reading leisure. Any questions, let me know. One item on French Landing. At the time of dedication, which was last fall, there was a sidewalk agreement that was entered into by the town and the developer, stating that there was about 600 feet of sidewalk and some other little dress-up things that had to be done. That was supposed to have been done by July 15th of this year. I've been in contact with the developer, and he cited the fact that we had an unusually wet spring. He's having challenges getting a contractor to do that 600-foot of sidewalk. So I'm waiting to hear back when it is he indeed is going to retain one and what the time frame on that is. So I'm kind of pushing a little bit. I don't have an answer for you now, but that's kind of work in progress. And then the last item is this one. There is a figure I put on in front of you. It's called the Town of Lewiston Roadway Crossing Trench Restoration Detail. Okay, I've been in a conversation with a highway superintendent, Train, and what he has suggested, and I have drafted up, and he has reviewed and approved this, is to have, when there needs to be a road crossing, okay, for whatever reason, water line crossing, sewer line crossing, that's not part of an actual construction project exactly, that the restoration of that trench be done consistent with this cross-section, okay? It's a very robust cross-section. The bottom where the pipe is, we put there what we call number 1 wash stone, that's pipe bedding. Above that, we put in what they call select structural backfill, or number 2 run crush, you might hear it called there. And then really where the cross-section of the roadway begins is there. That's 8 inches of concrete, followed by 4 inches of type 3 binder, and on the top wearing course is 2 inches of type 7 at the top. Those are all asphalted materials other than the concrete. So that's what he would like to see if anybody has to go in and open up the road within the town of Lewiston. He's intending to make this part of the highway work permit. He also wants it bonded at the time of the application. So I would ask that the board consider simply adding this detail to the current Town of Lewiston standard construction specifications, which the town approved, some time ago. So this would just be a simple addition there to the pavement section of that spec.
How do we know that, see the concrete 8 inches and it says 4,000 PSI? How do we know they're using that mix? Does the truck, cement truck give us that
Give a
spec?
ticket, yeah, for that mixed batch.
Okay.
And these are Dave Train's specs. We sat down and they're above and beyond, and he's very comfortable with them.
Oftentimes what you see on a road crossing, if it's not done properly, you all cross and with run across and boom, you see that trench will settle a little bit. And this is, the idea of this is to prevent that from the fact, this very cross section, was installed on Fletcher Road. And after a while, David saw that it had not settled, so he's thinking that that's quite a robust section. We'd like to see that in all road crossings in the town of Lewiston, should they.
How long is the bond for?
Just until the work's done.
I'm sorry,
Just until the work's done.
Taking a motion to add that?
Ryan, do we need to do anything else?
No, just a motion to add that.
So move to add this to our appropriate documents.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Is there anything in our code that prevents somebody from trenching all the way across in one clean swoop and stopping the flow of traffic? That one on Fletcher Road, they went all the way across and the rec tournament couldn't get out.
Is there anything in the code? I can't swear the chaplain goes now, other than, or you might think it's just common sense not to do that, if you like to think so, but I don't know if there's actual code. Would that be part of the highway work permit to not shut the road down?
You're supposed to get permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
Right. No,
you have to look at the big picture of things.
no, I know. They're supposed to do one half, do everything, cover it, right?
Plate it. and then-
Plate it, yeah. So Dave's aware of it. Hopefully it'll never happen again.
That's a particular concern for first responders.
Right.
Vehicles, of course. You don't want all of a sudden come up down Fletcher Road and they can get there.
Absolutely.
I got a question for you, Bob. It's nothing to do with what we're talking about, but while I got you. Is there an advantage with the bevel curbing or the L-shaped curbing? What do you feel is better?
I don't know if there's a particular advantage over either one, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's preference by highway superintendents.
Talk about highways.
It could be,
That's what it tends to do.
there's been developments where there's been no curbing, the sheet code drainage, which is like on my street, and then there's vertical curves, and then there's the country curves, L-shaped curves,
That's what's
you know, all variations. It's kind of preference.
Country curves along the, don't deteriorate, but snowplows don't get damaged on the hill. So at least that's what we were told.
That's the thought behind this. And that's another thing we're trying to address too, correct, Tim?
Yeah.
And that Dave Train and Tim have been working on that with Bob, and maybe
Before the
whatever.
code book's done, I wanted to
Right.
talk
Well,
to Dave.
They're working on it. Tim,
Yeah.
trust me, you got a friend in Tim Masters over there with that topic,
We're gonna
so.
hash that one
We
out.
talked about that, I said, that's right in Dave Train's wheelhouse, and that should come from him.
Yeah. And I think Bob's talking him on that, because, I mean, it might be the mix that we're asking them to do is not enough, as robust as he said, so, thank you. Finance, Marty.
I would like to establish petty cash for the recreation department. This is not something that we need to fund. What it is they get change and all, and they have a bucket, but we want it recorded. So I want to set up a petty cash account so that we can be recording that money, so that money is accounted for and is needed for accounting purposes. We need to establish a petty cash account for the recreation department.
Move to authorize the budget director to establish a petty cash account for the recreation department.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you. We have a 5-year agreement with the Energy Cooperative of America, which is the company that converts our allocation of hydro power to cash. They sell on the commodity market. That agreement is up for renewal This is one of the concerns that Rosemary Warren has discussed a couple times in the past. This company is a nonprofit organization. They are lowering their cost. It used to be $850 per month. They are lowering it to $625 per month with the new agreement. The reason for this is that over time, as they've been able to take on other municipalities and they've gotten better at doing what they do, and there's economy of scales there, that they feel that they can lower that cost. So they are lowering our cost to $625 per month. They've been doing this for 19 years to their cooperative members. They manage multiple NIPA allocations. The biggest thing, the asset to them that I see is that they act as an auditor to NIPA and to ensure that we're getting our proper allocation and that the dollar amounts are the right amounts. We do not have the capability in-house whatsoever to do this under any circumstances. And at $625 a month, you're not going to hire somebody that has that capability either. My recommendation, well, the other thing is their reports are always timely. They're very cooperative. You know, anytime we've had questions, he has met with us and come out. And he has also provided us with the provision that if somewhere down the lane, even though this is a 5-year contract with proper notice, it can be terminated by us. My recommendation is that we renew this agreement. I sent it to all the board members 2 weeks ago, asking for feedback and all, and I got no negative feedback whatsoever. So I don't know where you want to stand, but this agreement needs to be approved. Ryan has also reviewed it. He asked for one change, and they were very accommodating and made that change.
Besides the price, I mean, it's basically the same agreement that was entered into before, and the agreement has gone, according to Mary, very well thus far.
Yeah.
So I do approve it as to form.
Right.
What should be approved and then direct the supervisor to sign, or do it all in one go?
I would do two separate, is approve the agreement and then authorize the supervisor to sign it again.
Move to accept the renewal agreement as presented.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Move to authorize the supervisor to sign the renewal agreement with CSCO.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
I think it's just ECA.
It's Energy Cooperative of America.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Marty. Councilman Bax is not here. His liaison reports basically with the sewer. We have a sewer refund here. I'll start with Kim Houston, 4936 Hillview Court. Sewer refund in the amount of $56.10. Mr. Ritter, is that a legitimate?
Yes, it fits within the town sewer use agreement.
Okay.
Move for approval to refund $56.10 to Kim Houston.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we have one from Christy and Jason Langer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, 4811 Creek Road. Sewer refund in the amount of $118.05. Mr. Ritter, is that consistent?
That also fits within the town sewer use agreement.
Okay.
Move to refund Mr. and Mrs. Langer $118.05 as per our policy.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And now we have one from Joanne and Craig Dragenberg at 4681 North 5th Street in the amount of $88.55. And Mr. Ritter, is that consistent as well?
Yes, it is.
Move to refund $88.55 to Mr. and Mrs. Drakenberg. That's our policy.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. I will let you,
Move to accept the resignation of George B. Dalowitz with regret. he will be taking on a new position.
I move that. Second. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I like that idea of the letter, he's available to help train the new
Right.
hire.
And we'll go to Mr. Ritter again for the Water Pollution Control Center. Would like to hire Town Hall Maintenance Person George Danielitz for the vacant maintenance position at the treatment plant. George will be required to train his replacement and make the transition as painless as possible at Town Hall. I would like to say that I've had the pleasure of working with George since he's been hired here, and he's an outstanding worker, and I would recommend that he fill the vacant maintenance position at the treatment plant.
Take on this. He is on board with that, his department. We need an approval, motion for it?
To approve the hiring of his applicant.
Move to accept the recommendation of Jeff Ritter to hire George Danielitz in the water sewer department.
Water pollution control
Center.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Do you want to deal with Donna seeking a
No,
raise in her way?
no, she asked me to table it. Yeah, but we also need a motion to authorize myself to sign the 2016 annual stormwater report.
Direct the supervisor to sign the 2016 annual stormwater report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And Mr. Ritter's also looking for the board approval for the annual cooperative bid, water, wastewater, chemical, City of Niagara Falls. Jeff, you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah, it really helps us out as far as not buying these chemicals just for ourselves. We're getting them in conjunction with Niagara Falls wastewater treatment plant, and I think there's a couple other ones, and we're all in it together to try to get these chemicals as cheaply as possible.
Okay.
Move to approve the annual cooperative bid wastewater chemicals with the City of Niagara Falls.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Jeff,
Okay, and again, under town clerk, the vacancy at the town hall, Donna, because she couldn't make it tonight, asked me to table that. And then Councilwoman Serrato's not here, but the liaison report with the town park on Bronson Drive, and that would be the letter. I'll read it out. This is from Mr. Stephen Olajar. He's the chairman of the Deacon Board, Niagara Frontier Bible Church. Dear Mr. Dashnow, the Lewiston community on top of the hill and members of Niagara Frontier Bible Church have enjoyed the many years of having a town park playground on the church property. With the desire of the church wanting to reach out to the community and our neighbors, we would like to continue in this arrangement, which has now come to an end in the summer of this year, 2017. We would like to ask the town of Lewiston and the Parks Department to consider coming to a new agreement and possibly updating or even expanding on the current facility. In the past, there were some concerns that the green space requirements needed to meet specifications. Now, as we are looking to do repairs to our parking lot, we would also be willing to take back a portion of the parking lot to meet the green space requirements. As you are aware, there is no other such facility on top of the hill where families can bring their children to enjoy the playground park close to home. If this strikes an interest, we would like to arrange a meeting to discuss the possibilities to continue with the playground park and enhancement that would be required. So, there's no action that needs to be taken. It's just something that we need to decide if we do want to take on that as a town park and enhance it or work with them. Have a meeting.
Input from Mr. Dashnow, input from Ryan, our attorney, but this letter is well presented. It certainly has done his homework.
Right.
Bring us all up to speed, but rules change over the years.
Well, we can have Mike, yeah, Mike's here. Mike's back. You want to address it, Mike?
I just gave you a little bit of information on the history of it. I was here for the whole entire, the switch over from the church on the escarpment to the Lewiston Bible Church. When they came in, we agreed to extend that, the agreement with the new church, as long as they didn't alter the property around the playground, which they in turn did. I put a picture there, an aerial view that shows you the entrance to their parking lot. It kind of bumps right up against our shelter there and then right through the playground. The board at the time and the recreation committee at the time both determined that that's a safety hazard. We sent them a letter asking them to either fix it or we were going to terminate the lease. They chose not to fix it. We then sent them a letter to terminate that lease. In subsequent conversations with them, they agreed to maintain it, the playground equipment, so we wouldn't have to remove it. Now, this contract, again, we sent them a letter basically saying that we were going to terminate the contract as per the agreement. The original agreement did expire in 2017. The church has changed over many times. And just on full disclosure, too, my father-in-law has been a member of the deacon board there, the people that make the decisions there for this entire time. So I've sat with them a few times over the years as different pastors have come and gone to discuss them, and basically told them the whole time the town was never comfortable accepting the responsibility for that as long as that road is there, as long as that parking bumps right to the playground. We had done some work there since we did terminate the lease. It is still technically our purchase, our property. So we have gone and cleaned it up over the course of a couple years. And I guess the decision that has to be made too is this agreement was formulated, I want to say back in the late 90s, probably. Mrs. Glasgow, there you go. I wasn't going to say that. I didn't know for sure. Maybe she can talk to it in her comments, but I believe the discussion then was leasing property versus owning property when it comes to building parks. At the time, there was a lease agreement signed with Colonial Village with the fire hall for Colonial Village Park. The Sanborn lease was extended then. Kiwanis Park was always ours, but I believe the lease was extended then. And the Washuta Park lease actually started there. Now, recently, we've had some comments that we shouldn't be building and we shouldn't be expanding on property that's not ours. So that's going to be your decision whether you want to continue with leases, finding park spaces to lease out, or if you want to expand the park system, that is, build on our own property.
Well, I like your recommendation here. His recommendation would be to move this request to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee to advance any discussions. Anybody else got an opinion on that?
Are they doing anything to correct that driveway situation?
Just from what I saw in the letter, in the letter they stated they would be willing to give us back some of the property. I did try to look into some of the new regulations. The state changes regulations for Parks and Recreation a lot. We're trying to find if there is a buffer zone, anything that we would actually need to have there.
Yeah.
I mean, once we get those regulations, I'd be happy to sit down with them and see if that's something they can meet. Again, if that's the board's discretion to continue on and lease property. Before we did terminate this lease, just so you know, I mean, there was, when I first came, I was hired in 2002, there was a lot of talk on the commission at the time. Bronson Drive. Bronson Drive has a long stretch there with no houses on it where it becomes a speeding zone. I'm sure the police can attest to that too. There's no sidewalks there. You're building, you're leasing the property there that is a community park with no sidewalks, no standard entranceway there. You're basically telling kids if they want to use this park, they're going to have to walk down the side of the road to get to it. That was a big concern. Even before they built the driveway here. So, as I put in my letter to you guys, at the time when this lease was terminated, we looked into it. There was an old park, Circle Park, that sat in between or behind all the houses on Circle Drive that once was a town park. We looked into possibly moving back into there. That didn't work out. We looked at some property around the Escarpment area. Nothing ever came to fruition on it. Because of course, I mean, it's the board's discretion whether you want to have a park in every neighborhood. Do you want to service every little one? Because we don't have a presence on Escarpment Drive right now, but we also don't have a presence in Ransomville and a bunch of different areas. We're kind of limited as to the size and scope of parks that we have right now to begin with. So again, this is all going to be your direction here. You're the elected officials. You kind of direct me and say, okay, we do want this here.
But you're saying it's not a bike or walking friendly place to get to.
It was never our opinion that was a friendly place to get to. It really wasn't. Now, the playground does get use. There are some families that are there that do use it. My opinion is they drive in. I'm sure that the church parishioners would use that too. But again, that was one of the big concerns. You know, are you encouraging families to walk up I don't want to say a dangerous road, but, you know, a road without a sidewalk to get to a public park?
Well, I think it's something we could talk to at the next at the town work session, when all five of us are here, but I would also ask the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee to talk about it as well.
We don't meet again until about the third week of August. We usually take that summer break because we're
Okay.
all in summer programming.
We'll put it on your agenda for then and bring it up, and we'll discuss it too as a town board on the work session to see how much further we want to take it.
Okay.
Okay? Anything, sound good to you, Bill?
It's fine.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
They probably should look around for alternative spots too, just in case we decide not to go in that direction.
Right.
This year.
Tim, did that mall project, property in the center there ever get developed?
The mall
It
property.
used to be the playground area. It was a forever green area here in the circle.
No,
It's still empty?
it's been sold off now. Each of the abutting landowners own a piece of it.
Oh, so that, no, there was time where we went to the house in the middle of that. That never happened.
Yeah, that's gone.
Okay. Moving on to Councilman Guinan.
No reports.
Okay, Councilman Morel.
I just wanted to talk, actually, Bill, I'm gonna bring you in on this. We had a planning board meeting the other night. There had to be probably, 50 residents here. It was standing room only. And against the development off of Bronson. So the architect was here and the developers, and they got some homework to do. They're gonna come back, but I noticed a lot of people were mad on a notification that nobody found out 3 days before, 2 days before. Is it by law that, is it just the next door neighbors have to have a letter sent to them, or?
We sent out over 100 on that particular project.
You did?
We sent out every abutting landowner to that 50 or 60
Okay,
acres.
so we did do that. 'cause
We sent out over 100 letters.
Okay.
Yep, and then we put that in the newspaper, so we went over and above our notification. And we also mail those out, just so you know, at the same time the planning board will get their packets. So,
I just noticed, did you notice that there was a lot of discrepancy about the timing and,
People don't have computers, people don't read the paper.
I don't know how else to, or mailing them a letter and doing the paper, I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah, I think
You're not gonna sit here and call
This is
them,
the only other way to go.
unless you wanna call them all, Karen.
one of the complaints I had from the residents was, this came in for sketch plan twice, but there isn't any
Right.
process during the sketch plan where they can be part of the process, but the town code doesn't require it on the sketch plan, because at that point in time, it's so in motion, you don't know where you're gonna land, so.
Well, the agenda's
nothing to
online.
speak on it. Yeah,
The
correct.
agenda's so-
The agenda's online,
You
yeah.
almost gotta look for yourself.
Yeah, but until they get an engineered plan of where they're gonna land, you're gonna create a lot of input that might not even look like the plan whenever it comes back for preliminary, so.
That's, yeah.
Rob, the other thing that we decided to do as a planning board was to kind of get all the comments together and answer them all, put that in a letter, send those out hopefully to residents, and have another meeting before the final plan. We wanted to have those issues worked out, because there were some significant things that kept coming up person after person that we want to make sure we have ironed out before the developers allow it to move forward. Developer was on board with that, they're okay with it. They also offered to have an additional meeting on their own with the residents. Anybody who wanted to come to them and discuss their issues, they were willing to do that as well. So, I think there's a lot of, as heated as the meeting got, it still stayed civil.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cooperation between the developer and the town. And residents seem to be pleased when they were all walking out.
Mr. Zeno, I want to bring you in on this mayor here. They were complaining about water pressure up there. A lot of residents at Bronson. Is there a Bridgman? Well, there was a few residents on Bronson. We don't have a problem with water pressure up there in the main.
The fire hydrants all tested?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not that, so most of it's new up there on the outside. I don't know why a few of the residents got up and spoke and said, we have no water pressure as it is, there's 200 more homes in it. And I just never heard of anybody complaining that, but about 2 or 3 come up.
Oh, yeah. And, there's a number of causes for that, and it happens everywhere in the summer because a little water in the lawn, or, golf courses, there's farmers or somebody.
Country
There's times there's, sprinklers turn on.
But some of the older homes along that area too, their laterals have, whatever the term is,
Tuberculation.
yes. So, do we do any testing for residents to find out if their pressure is low from?
That's on the line.
Yeah,
It's on that.
streets of that was,
So we can recommend that they do that, have their own lines tested.
Okay, excellent. Okay, let's move on to resident statements. I didn't have anybody sign up at the end for the resident statements, so we'll just,
I had it. Where do we sign up for that one?
no, it wasn't on here. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity right now. I'm not gonna close it out. So I guess Rosemary Warren wants to start off.
Ridiculous freedom of information, nothing against your interpretation. But to me, it was using the public money. It shouldn't be, my freedom of information didn't say it was difficult to get this information. That answer wasn't in there. The other thing is, almost everything today is push a button on a computer and it would come up. And it should be in the finance, it should be in the finance of how this is going out, how this is being distributed. So I still am not happy with that answer. The other thing, the police department had a very good sign on Saunders Settlement Road, big, that said, use caution. It wasn't just a little sign, it was a big one. And it caught your eye because for the 2 days, we had the Farm Fest up there, and there's a knoll coming out of, there's kind of a raise coming out of Smoking Joe, they're coming there. Having those signs there was very good this year. I thought that was excellent, so yeah. Just open, always been for open government and transparency, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Paulette Glasgow.
Couple of things. The seeker for the water line, will that be online on the website?
Good question.
Carol, could we put that on the website, please?
Yeah, so it's not even back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but eventually it'll be put up there within like a week or so? Okay, that's fine, as long as it's up there, I appreciate it. With regards to what Mike talked about Bronson Drive and the park, little history there. That started back when I was the liaison to the Recreation Commission. The Recreation Commission, there were a lot of kids up there, and we wanted some activity up there. And I give full credit to the late Charlie Kraft, the late Ross Polito, and all the firemen in Upper Mountain Fire Company, because they all got together with Rick Gort and put that park up there. There was at one time, it was the only one in existence, an ice skating rink in the town of Lewiston. And the firemen put that in. And that's how that park developed. What I would recommend, and we haven't, I think it's the one we have is expired, I think it was 1997, 1998, is maybe Mike and the Recreation Commission should sit down and write a recreation master plan, Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We have one, but it's outdated, I believe. We talked about it when we talked about, I think, the recreation facility up at the school. So that's expired. So you need to update that. It's a master plan. And that will tell you exactly where to plot these things. There are kids up there. They've been going to that park, walking, biking, skating, rollerblading. No problem, knock on wood. Nobody's got hurt. In fact, my nieces go up there all the time when they come. As for the development that's going in there, I do have low water pressure. I live on the surface, and I have low water pressure. I don't know if it's because of the lines or because the farmer's below. I don't know. But I do have low water pressure. And with regards to that development, I highly, highly recommend that the planning board undertake a traffic study in that area. You need to do a traffic study. There's a narrow road, where that access or egress or whatever road is going to come out of that development goes right into a house, and it's, I would say maybe 250 to maybe 400 feet from the intersection of the circles. You're going to have a lot of traffic if you're putting the 200 units up there. You need to do a traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Would anybody else like to speak? No one else? Okay.
Well, let me ask Bill if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
We can ask for a traffic study on that.
That's one of the things I'm gonna talk to Nico about. There's certain things that kind of prompt, a DOT study, and that has, what the developers stated that, back in 1982 or whatever they did the original approval, that there was a traffic study done. If I remember correctly, the way this goes, if they were to have increased the density of the number of houses within the development, that would prompt an updated traffic study. They have reduced the number or the density of homes that are going to be in there, so that would not upon itself prompt the requirement for the DOT for another traffic study to be done. I'd like to find out if there's some way that we can maybe do an amended study or a reviewed study of some sort, just to update it with today's traffic standards, if there's some kind of provision for that. But I have to find out exactly what's required, because you can't make them do one.
Yes, you can.
Because there's certain, and you can, again, we ask the DOT, but if they say that one's not required, you can't really force a developer to do one.
Mr. Broderick, I served on the county planning board.
So did I.
I know you did, Bill. And one of the things that you can set as a condition for approval is a traffic study.
We'll look into it. I wrote it down, we'll look into it. Thank you.
Was there a determination that too much time has lapsed in this particular project?
That's
starting.
Right, that's part of the work that we need to do, the town needs to do, as far as, when we go before we meet with the residents again, is answer those questions, because I don't honestly know. There's certain things there, it seems, and I don't blame everybody for, wanting a traffic study, but, my years of doing development work, there's certain things that, again, kick that requirement off, and we could just get turned down by the DOT. So it's, it's something we're looking into. I would like to see one done, if there's a way to do it. I mean, I think it makes sense, obviously.
When the developer does a traffic study, it always comes out very favoring them.
Well,
DOT does a traffic study and they say, oh, traffic's no issue at all, because they're looking at another world outside of Lewiston.
Right.
We have our own standard for what we believe is traffic issues. But my concern is when I look over this new presentation to the PUD, has too much time lapsed. Do we need to get a legal opinion to say, should they start using today's most current standards for this PUD, not the standards that were in place when they first started the project?
Right. We just met on Thursday, so I mean, again, I haven't approached the department yet to ask the question. So, but I will have answers.
Well, I looked at the project, I was pleased that there was a second egress out, not necessarily pleased where it was. I wasn't pleased with the size of the lots, because in the last so many months, the zoning board gets requests for variances to put a bigger house on the lot. And clearly, when the lot is pie-shaped, and you have to try to have all your setbacks, we keep having variances. And I don't like the variance. The variance is supposed to be with a hardship, not just because they want a bigger house.
Right. And there's other provisions that we can do upon, deciding on what the planning board decides to do with the project. But for those particular sites, we can say, well, in a site of 6 foot minimum width, no area variances will be granted.
Would you be so kind as our monthly meetings come, keep us updated on this project?
Sure, absolutely.
What I was confused with, Bill, Mr. Carolano kept saying they could go ahead with the PUD from 1982 and start building tomorrow.
Legally, they can.
But they don't meet the fire codes on that. There's new fire codes. So they would have to come back to the planning board. So what he's saying is not true.
Not 100%. It's, but if they were to, you're right. And there's a lot of, there was a lot of information flying around the table that night.
That was just the
But
start.
it's really a unique situation. The developers certainly take advantage of the legalities of, being kind of grandfathered in with the old approval because work has been done, on a continual basis there, a little bit by a little bit, keeping everything kind of active, if you would,
They got their homework to do, so.
Right, everybody does. And, again, we spoke and to the developer, asked them, they need to do a little research, we need to do some research. I'd like to summarize all that in a letter and be able to present that to the residents when they come back for our next informational meeting.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bill. Tim, you want to add?
Yeah, just so that everybody's aware, that subdivision, we made them go back and check all the density requirements, everything according to the code as this today. So everything with regards to the road, the infrastructure, other than what's built there already, will be according to the new standards. There won't be anything grandfathered in. I mean, their stormwater, everything will be all updated to today's standards, including the fire codes and everything else. So if anyone thinks that there's a misconception that this is going to go under the 95 standards, it's not going to. Everything will be to today's standards.
And I know I spoke to you today, they're not looking for one variance in that project, are they?
No.
Yeah. Okay, good. Upcoming boards, commission meetings, the Environmental Commission on August 8th, 7 p.m.
August 21st.
August 21st, okay. August 21st for the Environmental Commission, 7 p.m. Zoning Board of Appeals, August 10th at 7 p.m. Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, August 16th at 7 p.m.
Nope.
No?
No, not, it'll be a later date, yeah.
Okay.
We'll announce it next week.
Okay, so scratch the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for August 16th. And the next planning board, is that correct, on August 17th at 6:30 p.m.?
I think so.
Do we have to have the environmental commission meeting after the planning board, because it always messes our schedules up? And basically, anything that comes in on the agenda in the August meeting will then become a 2-month process if we can't have the environmental commission
I'll review it before.
look at it before Bill gets it.
It may not make a difference with this particular project.
Okay.
Maybe in the future, we should maybe look at that.
Okay, we'll look at that in the future, and
We're gonna do another informational meeting with the residents before we
Okay.
tackle it.
so planning board, August 17th at 6:30 p.m.
And you work with Dr. Jim on the cable commission, the project, and we have a meeting soon.
I don't know about the meeting soon, but I know they went out and they priced equipment, and they're looking to get a bid on the equipment. That was the next step. Next month, the work session will be on August 14th, and the regular town board meeting will be on August 28th. Correction. No, that's correct. The 14th and the 28th. So I'd like to thank everybody. We are not having an executive session tonight.
I want us to look far ahead. Marty, I asked her to be able to put together soon all these specific budget dates that we have to meet. And it starts to fill up October quickly. And Columbus Day is October 9th, which is the second Monday of the month.
I believe it's Thursday night, and after you mentioned that to me, I mentioned something to Donna, and it's the 19th, and we set, or the 12th, we established that schedule at the beginning of the year.
Just make sure that we can get in all our budget meetings in a timely fashion.
Okay, we can talk about that at the work session as well, finalize that, so.
Move to adjourn.
Yes, move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the regular town board meeting for July 24th.